Picture a massive, spinning top of frigid air, swirling high above the North Pole. This is the polar vortex. It's an immense, invisible force, shaping the climate of the entire northern hemisphere, even though most of us never see it. The polar vortex is a powerful circulation of winds that traps the coldest air on Earth, keeping it locked in the Arctic's icy embrace. Acting as an atmospheric fence, the polar vortex keeps the harshest cold bottled up in the far north, allowing much of the world to experience milder winters. This invisible barrier is crucial for maintaining the balance of our planet's climate, and when it's strong, it protects regions far to the south from Arctic blasts. For places like Central Florida, the idea that this distant phenomenon could affect our weather seems far-fetched, but it's a testament to our interconnected climate. The polar vortex's reach is vast, and its influence can be felt thousands of miles away, linking the fate of tropical palm trees to the frozen tundra. When the polar vortex weakens or breaks apart, its icy air can spill south, reaching places unaccustomed to such cold. This rare event can transform familiar landscapes, bringing sudden chills and unexpected weather to regions that usually bask in warmth. In early February 2026, a major disruption sent Arctic air deep into the U.S., chilling even the palm trees of Central Florida. Residents awoke to frosty mornings and a landscape transformed as the cold snap lingered far longer than anyone expected. This video will explore what the polar vortex is, why it sometimes fails, and how its breakdown brought an unusual lingering chill to our region. We'll dive into the science behind these dramatic shifts and uncover the chain reaction that starts high above the Arctic and ends in our own backyards. We'll look at the science behind the event and its real-world impacts, from frosty mornings to the concerns of local farmers. The sudden freeze threatened crops and livelihoods, reminding us how vulnerable we are to changes in the atmosphere. Understanding this phenomenon reveals just how connected our weather truly is. The story of the polar vortex is a story of global links, where a shift in the Arctic can ripple across continents, shaping the lives of people and ecosystems far beyond the ice. To understand Central Florida's recent cold snap, we need to demystify the polar vortex. This term gets thrown around a lot during winter, but what does it actually mean and why does it matter for places as far south as Florida? The polar vortex is a vast, upper-level cyclone that always hovers near the poles, spinning counterclockwise high above the Arctic. It's strongest in winter, acting as a barrier that keeps the coldest air bottled up in the Arctic Circle. Think of it as a giant, invisible wall of wind, circling the pole and trapping frigid air inside. When this wall is intact, the Arctic cold stays put, far from the southern states. When the vortex is strong, the jet stream flows smoothly west to east, keeping frigid air away from lower latitudes. But the vortex isn't static, it fluctuates, influenced by atmospheric waves and energy transfers. Sometimes disturbances in the atmosphere can weaken the vortex, causing it to wobble or even split apart. When that happens, the jet stream can dip much farther south than usual, dragging Arctic air along with it. A robust vortex means milder winters for much of the U.S., while a weak one can let cold air escape south. That's when places like Central Florida can suddenly find themselves shivering under unusually cold skies, even if they're used to sunshine and warmth. The term polar vortex became popular during recent cold outbreaks, but the phenomenon itself is ancient, a fundamental part of how Earth distributes heat. Its behavior shapes weather far beyond the Arctic, even reaching sunny Florida. When the vortex weakens, it can send shock waves of cold across continents, making headlines and surprising communities unaccustomed to winter chills. Understanding the vortex helps explain why some winters are harsher than others. It's a key player in the global climate engine, quietly influencing our daily weather. By tracking its strength and movement, meteorologists can better predict when and where cold snaps might strike, helping us prepare for the unexpected, even in places where winter is usually just a rumor. The polar vortex isn't always stable. Sometimes it's violently disrupted by a phenomenon known as sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW for short. This event is one of the most dramatic shifts that can occur in our atmosphere, and it has far-reaching consequences for weather patterns across the globe. When air high above the pole rapidly heats up, it weakens the vortex, causing its powerful winds to slow and its structure to wobble or even split into two separate systems. This sudden warming can happen over just a few days, but its effects can linger for weeks. This breakdown lets chunks of frigid Arctic air escape their usual confines, traveling southward along a jet stream that has become distorted and unpredictable. The jet stream acts like a highway, steering these cold air masses far from their polar origins. The jet stream, instead of flowing straight and steady, develops deep, meandering waves. These waves can dip much farther south than normal, guiding blasts of Arctic air into regions that are typically much milder during winter. These displaced lobes of cold can settle over the eastern U.S., creating a direct path for Arctic air to reach as far as Florida. This is why, on rare occasions, places like Central Florida can experience temperatures that are more common in northern states. The process unfolds over a week or two, giving meteorologists time to analyze data, track the shifting patterns, and warn communities of the coming cold. This advance notice is crucial for preparing people and infrastructure for unusual weather. It's not a single storm, but a large-scale shift in atmospheric patterns, setting the stage for prolonged cold spells and unusual weather events that can last for days or even weeks. When the vortex breaks down, millions feel the effects, sometimes in places that rarely see frost. Schools may close, crops can be damaged, and daily life is disrupted in regions unaccustomed to such cold. This is how a distant atmospheric event, thousands of miles away, can turn Florida's winter upside down, leaving palm trees dusted with frost and residents bundling up in heavy coats. The polar vortex's breakdown is a dramatic reminder of our planet's interconnected weather systems, showing how changes in one part of the world can ripple out and affect lives far beyond the Arctic Circle. In February 2026, Central Florida experienced the polar vortex's power firsthand. A disrupted vortex sent Arctic air surging south, dropping daytime highs into the 50s and bringing nights in the 30s and low 40s. Residents swapped t-shirts for heavy coats as the cold lingered for days, not just hours. Frost and even hard freeze warnings became common, threatening plants and crops. This wasn't a typical cold front, it was a sustained, unusual chill that changed daily routines. The event showed just how vulnerable even warm regions are to shifts in the global atmosphere. The real culprit behind lingering cold is the jet stream's behavior after a polar vortex breakdown. Instead of moving quickly west to east, the jet stream slows and meanders, forming deep troughs that trap cold air over regions like Central Florida. This wavy pattern can persist for days or even weeks, preventing warmer air from returning. The result: a long-duration cold blast, not just a brief chill. Multiple nights of freezing temperatures strain infrastructure, agriculture, and daily life. The refrigerator door stays open until the jet stream flattens out again. This explains why the recent cold felt so relentless and different from a typical winter front. Understanding this dynamic is key to preparing for future cold spells. When Arctic air arrives, Central Florida wakes up to a string of cold, frosty mornings. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s are a shock, forcing residents to bundle up and change routines. Frost advisories and freeze warnings become nightly news, prompting people to cover plants and bring sensitive greenery indoors. Even irrigation systems can backfire, encasing lawns in ice if run overnight. The cold is dry and biting, with brisk winds making it feel even colder. For Floridians, these precautions are unfamiliar and stressful. The persistent chill changes how people work, play, and care for their homes. It's a vivid reminder of how a distant weather event can reshape daily life. For Central Florida's farmers, a polar vortex breakdown is more than an inconvenience, it's a threat to their livelihood. Citrus, strawberries, tomatoes, and ornamental plants are all vulnerable to freezing temperatures. Farmers use costly methods like overnight sprinklers to protect crops, encasing fields in ice to save delicate fruit. The citrus industry faces risks to both fruit and trees, especially younger plants. Nurseries and greenhouses scramble to shield tropical plants, driving up energy and labor costs. The longer the cold lasts, the greater the risk and expense for local agriculture. A single Arctic outbreak can jeopardize an entire season's harvest. The cold snap's impact ripples through every part of Central Florida life. Homes built for heat, not cold, struggle to stay warm, sending energy bills soaring and straining the power grid. Outdoor events and tourism take a hit as people cancel plans, and theme parks see bundled-up visitors. Vulnerable populations like the homeless and elderly face real danger, prompting emergency shelters and increased healthcare needs. The tourism industry, a local economic engine, suffers when headlines warn of record cold. Even daily routines, running, fishing, backyard barbecues are put on hold. The cold touches every corner of the community, revealing how much we depend on predictable weather. It's a stark reminder that even a brief Arctic visit can disrupt life in the Sunshine State. The polar vortex's reach into Florida is a lesson in global weather connectivity. Understanding this phenomenon helps residents prepare for rare, prolonged cold, protecting plants, budgeting for energy, and checking on neighbors. For farmers and emergency managers, early warnings are essential for planning and response. The lead time between a stratospheric warming and a cold outbreak can save crops and lives. The polar vortex breakdown shows that no region is immune to distant atmospheric shifts. By paying attention to these patterns, we're better equipped to handle the unexpected. Even in sunny Florida, the Arctic's icy grip can make its presence felt, reminding us that our weather is part of a much bigger story.